everybody. Great to see you today. I'm here with Lucy Robinson, both of us in different environments. Great seeing you today, Lucy. Where are you at right now?
Well, I look like I'm in some wonderful place, but I'm actually in TLF, temporary living facility, lodging facility if you are not Air Force, at Eielson Air Force Base, because we are about out of here a couple of days until we PCS. So I come to you from hotel accommodation. What about you, Mike? Where are you?
I'm in Memphis, baby. Like, long day, lots of travel delays and everything else, but I finally got in my room. I'm excited to be here today. I've got a lot of good things. I just had a double shot of espresso, so I'm ready to go. But for everybody dialing in, why don't you go ahead and let us know where you are? If you're watching right now, drop in the comments where you're at. Let's see if you can one-up us. North Central Alaska or Memphis, where I guess after this, I'm going to go see the world's largest Bass and Pro Shop. It's in like a metal pyramid, like right over here.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then tomorrow I'm going to speak with Navy Recruiting Command. So I'm really excited about the trip. I'm going to go get Gus's chicken, which is like world-renowned fried chicken, like best in the world, allegedly. I'm going to try it out. I'll get photos. I'm going to go ride an elevator in a metal pyramid, and I'm going to go buy a new piece of luggage because my handle broke getting over here today. So anyway, so thanks for joining us, everybody. Excited to talk to you today. Lucy and I here, we've got a couple things that we want to talk to you about before we get into the hot jobs, kind of fold in our LinkedIn audio sessions and talk about some of the things that kind of we see in the veteran space or the transitioning military space, which is more appropriate. So the first topic I want to talk to, and jump in whenever you want, Lucy, is effort, right? And what I mean by effort is the effort that you as a job seeker puts into showing that you are a high effort person, right? If we're hiring someone, you don't want to hire someone that does no effort to get the job. And where this really comes about is I've posted a few opportunities over the last couple of weeks, and there are people that will, kind of just drop into the comment and say, I'm interested. And the job post specifically says, hey, go to this link, read the description of the job, and if you have questions, reach out to Lucy Robinson. But ideally, you apply and then ping Lucy to say you applied, right? And don't just say, I applied, right? So that effort helps people stand out. What are your thoughts on that, Lucy?
100%. But what I love about this is I've been recruiting for a really long time working with you, Mike. And it's only when you get a feel of it do we bring this live and we talk about it, because it's painful, right? So as an example, rather, the role that Mike is referencing is very niche. It's amazing. It's entry level, requires no experience, but it is going to open up into an awesome career post active duty. And, everybody's interested. But the point is, there are some non-negotiables and deal breakers that over our evolution of advertising the role, we have made it very clear that, hey, if you don't need this, a clearance as an example, if you don't have this, a location as an example, you won't, or a start date as an example, we have to have candidates who can start on this date in this location with this type of clearance. And both of our inboxes have been flooded, and it's great. I am not going to complain because people are reading our posts. They are motivated. However, as we were talking earlier, if it said, need 3 years experience and somebody's got 2.5, we can work around that, but we can't work around a lack of clearance. So people endeavoring to make an application when they don't actually have the necessary or deal breaker qualifications or experience, it's just a waste of your time. And the problem is, and I made a post about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it then means that I have to say, I'm so sorry, and send you a rejection email. And I hate sending rejection emails. They're horrid at the best of times. So let's not put any of us in that situation, and just read the postings, the job descriptions, and see if you do have the experience skill set and whether what you have is 95% of what we need or what a company needs. I mean, that's it.
I think that's a great point you have there about non-negotiables, right? Because you see a lot of career coaches, you got a lot of the LinkedIn voices that say, apply, shoot your shot. And I take a little bit of a different slant on that, where I say kind of what you just did. You have to look at that job description and really identify what the non-negotiables are, right? If it says you have to have a clearance, right? If it says it must be in this location, it is on site, it requires this, right? Like those are, you identify the non-negotiables there, right? If it has to be a skill bridge. Like if it says it's 100% on site in this location, hey, could it be remote? No. They literally said 100% on site, right? Hey, this has to be skill bridge. Can we non-skill bridge? No. It says it requires a TS clearance. Well, what if I don't have one? No, you're not qualified. But when it says it requires 3 to 5 years of experience doing XYZ, and maybe you have 2.5, then you apply, right? Those are the things that are just flexible scales. And I would so much rather somebody say, hey, like I took a look at the job description, like, hi, Lucy, I saw Michael Quinn's post on this opportunity. You know, I have the TS clearance. I'm eligible for skill bridge, but I'm only eligible for 2 months starting on this date. Is that acceptable? Great. That's a fantastic message, right? It's actionable. You don't have to do the work. But if it's, I'm interested or I'd like to talk about it, well, now they're asking you to go look at their profile and try to identify if they hit it, or maybe read their resume if they provided one and see where the issues are. And then you have to triage whether you have to go back and forth to them, right? It's just it's like they're punting work onto you. And so my take on all of this is you should, when you're applying, you should be high effort. You will stand out high effort. I would rather you, like for me personally, and you can share me, I would rather you comment, hey, I'm interested, I'm going to apply, go on and apply, and then send a note to you saying, hey, Lucy, just want to thank you for this. I applied online. Like to me, like that's the holy grail of high effort when it comes to this. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I would love that if that happened. And don't get me wrong. I do respond to everybody that sends me a DM unless it's completely unnecessary. So everybody, I know you don't, I know, but you and I are different people. And I take the approach that if I'm getting these DMs, then I am not making the opportunity clear and concise enough. So I change the way that I communicate out. So I use this as a reference point to communicate out. So as an example, I started putting, this is a SkillBridge internship opportunity. SkillBridge is eligible for these people, to these people. This is what it is, because we get lots of people applying and they are not SkillBridge eligible. So I work with this information, but it would be really helpful if people made the applications and then send me the link, because I will enter into a conversation. But you have to remember, and this is my piece, you have to remember that you've sent me a DM, but so have 30 other people. And it takes me a hot minute to respond to everybody. And everybody's got a slightly different ask or a slightly different request. And so that can be an hour or two in the evening for me. I'd have a job at the same time. So, you know, it's a tricky one. And I don't want to disenfranchise people. This is more, rather than being, oh, the mean recruiters and we don't want your applications. I want your applications. I want to make you successful, because you being successful makes me successful. I want to share this across our population so that when people are making applications outside of higher military or to other companies that don't have the diligence and the care to the transitioning service member that we have, that they're not getting it wrong there. You know, you can practice with us, get it right outside of us. That's what I'm trying to achieve here, is sharing the good information. And there was one question actually, who was it? Corey said, what was the position? Mike, do you want to share? Because you posted yesterday.
Oh, it is a Amazon Web Services Solution Architect role. But what's unique about this is that this program, if you have a top secret clearance, and if you're eligible for SkillBridge starting July 22nd, I believe it is, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a 12-week training program, 40 hours a week, remote, like you do the training remote online. And then you're going to do 12 weeks of paid training. So it's basically a 6-month program. The 12 weeks of paid training are paid at $35 an hour. And at the end, when you graduate, they're going to place you in a position, a 6-figure role in either the DC area or San Antonio, maybe Fort Eisenhower, the places where TS clearances are. But you'll know before you get through 10 days in that training where you're going to be assigned. And the beauty of this is that there's a lot of these programs where they're, use your GI Bill. No, there's no GI Bill here. Or you have to, use credentialing assistance or anything else like that. This program is SkillBridge and then paid training for 6 months, and then they place you. And what's amazing about this is once you've done about 2 or 3 years in this field, the salary's blown up easily up around $200,000 a year. Like, and you need work ethic, and you got to know like what a computer is. So I think it's an incredible role, but you've got to have a TS clearance. You've got to have SkillBridge eligibility. This one starts July 22nd. And if you're going to start in future months, you could always like ping Lucy or whatever and send her your resume and say, hey, I'm eligible this month. I'm interested. And she'll kind of keep it in the loop. But it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm super excited. So with that, I want to go into one other quick topic. You talked about effort. And I've had to hit people back on this a lot. I get, and this all goes to what you just went with, Lucy, where you talked about messaging, right? So I want people to think about what they're asking when they send messages. Now, I have a massive network. I get a ton of messages. But a lot of them I get are like, hey, I need a job. I mean, literally 1 or 2 sentences. Hey, I've been following you for a while. I need a job. And ultimately, I go back to myself. I want you to think about what you're asking with that, right? What are your expectations of me? Are you expecting me to go look at your profile, look at your resume, figure out what you go check job boards and kind of throw some jobs at you? Like, is that what you expect? And they're like, no, I don't. Well, you have to think about what you're asking, right? You can't punt the responsibility to do your career exploration to somebody else unless you're paying them to do it. And I don't ever really encourage that for anybody. So I tell people, if you're going to reach out to a stranger, make the first ask defined and small. Like, look at our page, and if you see a job opportunity that interests you, right, at hiremilitary.us, reach out about that specific job. Or if you're interested in a career field, right, reach out and say, like, do you think, based on my profile, do you think I might be a good fit? Or, like, to have specific questions. Don't ask these nebulous, do all my work for me questions to people that you don't know, because ultimately what happens with most people, they're just going to say ignore, because, like, if you ask me to review your resume, I'm going to ignore it because unless I know you, because you're asking me to spend 2 or 3 hours on you. And I don't know if you're even going to accept my recommendations. Does that make sense, Lucy?
100%. So I regularly get people land in my inbox and say, hey, what jobs do you have for me? And in my head, I go through the steps. So what you're asking is for me to go and take a look at your LinkedIn profile, then go and take a look at my careers page, put the two together and come back and respond to you. That's a solid 5 minutes work on my time. I mean, it's really not, but because I know my jobs, I know what we've got. But if I didn't, and if we had more, and it's quite a brazen ask. I know I'm British and I hold back, but I do think it's like, hey, dude, why don't you say, and like, even if I'm a logistics, I saw earlier, I'm a logistics manager in Dallas Fort Worth. Do you have anything at the moment that you're recruiting for that would be suitable for me? That's easy. I can go back and say yes or no. And it's a quick response. But it's like Mike said, just think about what you're asking and position it so that you get a response. It's like fishing. You have to have the best bait in order to get something to come back to you. Because ultimately, I build and develop relationships. I meet you in your effort. If you work really hard in getting in looking for a role, I will work as hard as you. If you put minimal effort in, I'm going to match you with that, because ultimately, at the end of the day, and I know this sounds crass, but I'm not the one looking for a position right now. I'm always going to say right now. But I'm not. I've got a job. You haven't. I want to help you, but meet me. I'm not going to work harder than you when you're looking for a position.
Awesome. I agree. So the last thing, and then we'll get into the jobs, is I want to talk about the story, this awesome story I read, and I know Jamie Halchek shared it on my post. It's the teacup versus the styrofoam cup. And the gist of the story is that there was a political appointee went to visit one of the government agencies, and he came in and they brought out a coffee service, and it was in porcelain coffee cups. And they served everybody. They had everything right there. It was like a very nice coffee service. And your political appointee coming to visit your organization. Of course it is. And then like a year later, they came back. They were no longer the political appointee. They came back for a meeting, and they asked where the coffee service was. And they're like, oh, the styrofoam cups are right around the corner. Go ahead and grab one. And the only difference was they didn't have the title anymore. And they didn't have the trappings of rank that go with it. And I think that's something that it kind of like invades us a little bit when we get out of the military. You don't even, and it's not about not being humble. It's not about being poor leaders or whatever, but after you've been at a certain level for a period of time, you don't even realize how accustomed to the deference and the trappings of rank you become. You don't realize that you're used to people moving out of the way. You're used to people standing up when you get in the room. You're used to people valuing what you say because of what's on your rank. And you don't realize it until it's gone. And so, this comes up quite a bit in the transition. I've run up against senior leaders that are like, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to being a consultant. I'm like, I was an executive in the Big Four. Like, what do you mean? You're still in the military, or you have people that you interview and they talk at you for 20 or 30 minutes. Instead of like realizing it's an interview, you should be back and forth. And so I say this because I know you don't stumble into these prestigious ranks and positions. And I teach all the generals and admirals, and most of them are very humble, and very comfortable. But I will just say that I think we need to realize and make an effort to realize that in ourselves, and that when you are talking to others and you're looking for a job or you're in the transition, be conscious that you're not talking too much, that you're not dominating the meeting, that you're showing humility, and that you're listening to what that other person says. Whether you agree with it or not down the road, you should be listening and asking questions to better understand their perspective instead of telling them how it is, which is what we did in the military when you get to a certain level. So I just really want people to consider that when they're transitioning. Lucy, anything you want to add before you get into hot jobs? Oh, you're on mute. I think Lucy said no. She's got nothing else. All right. Well, with that, I think I'm going to, and just so everybody knows, this all comes from a good place. We genuinely like this. I still do this because the year of my transition was the hardest year of my life. And there have been a lot of painful moments in the years since as I've continued to learn and grow. And I know Lucy sees it all the time. So everything that we do comes from a place of, really, I hate to say it this way, it sounds cheesy, but a place of love, right? Like we're here. And sometimes there's
I couldn't put myself on mute just now.
Oh, so go ahead, Lucy. I'll turn it over to you. But I just tell people, just remember this. I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. Like I'd rather tell you now, have you get angry at me and then eventually consider it, than not say anything because I'm non-confrontational and you stumble through your transition for years. And so just keep that in mind. And that's for most people in the transition space, because compassion fatigue is real. You see the same thing every day. 650 people start their transition every day. 650 new people just start their transition. And so they've never heard any of this. And so just keep that in mind when you engage. And I'll just say, like, network, listen, learn, grow, and you put the effort in, you will find your success. And speaking of finding success, we've got some roles that will help you find your success. Over to you, Lucy.
Thank you. I think we're both on the struggle bus today in terms of our connectivity, but I couldn't take myself off mute earlier. And what I wanted to say was, make it a conversation. And absolutely, like everything that you said. And that's why I was like, I can't talk right now. I can't get this to work. But what roles have we got? Right, first and foremost, as we are talking about the positions today, be a motivated job seeker. You see hiremilitary.us up there? That is where all of our positions are advertised. In addition, if you are struggling with your resume and you're not seeing success in terms of being invited for interview or even a first screen, please do take the opportunity to take a look at our resource section on our website, because we have a great piece about how to create a targeted application, a targeted resume, and it doesn't just tell you what to do, it shows you, it demonstrates how to do it. So it is a good piece. In addition, we've got resources on virtual interview etiquette as well. So definitely, if you have the opportunity or if you've got 5 minutes, explore those and get some solid information from recruiters who genuinely want you to get a job. Ultimately, like Mike said, it is with love in our heart that we say these things. It's not because we think we're right. It's because we have seen what bad looks like, and we just don't want anybody else to put themselves in that situation. So what have we got? Today, we are working for a large national food services company who have engaged with us for a year, an exclusive veteran hiring agreement for a year. They are HQ'd, they're headquartered out of Northeast Dallas, so Farmers Branch, if you're familiar with that area in Texas. And they have multiple opportunities that they specifically want to hire veterans and military spouses. Their new president is prior active duty Army, and he wants to surround himself with like-minded people as they grow their company exponentially over the next 3 to 4 months. So they have, in Farmers Branch, we are recruiting an HR coordinator, HR administrator role right now, a franchise sales manager, training specialists. And these training specialists, if you are Air Force, I have had significant success talking to people from services, from FSS. So it really sits well with the culinary background in that area. They have an accounting manager role, and a NetSuite coordinator and a NetSuite administrator. So some great positions in the headquarters. Nationally, they are looking for regional managers in Kentucky, so Louisville, Kentucky, Detroit, Baton Rouge, also Farmers Branch, Denver, Indianapolis, and LA. They do have a couple of roles in LA. I saw somebody was calling in from LA today. So we've got national training specialists in Los Angeles, as well as a regional manager role. Awesome company, very fast to communicate and get back. They are putting people through the interview process very quickly. So if any of those sound like they're of interest to you, write the name, the job title in the comments, or you can connect with me and we will share the URL for that one.
Can I add something? Sure. Just so people know, this is a $200 million a year company that's expected to grow to $500 million in 3 years. So this isn't like a little tiny like food service company. They are massive, and it's a great idea, great opportunity to get in at the right time, at the right level, and grow with them.
Exactly that, and be part of the new team, the fresh team. What else have we got? So working in the DC metro area, we have multiple roles that we are recruiting for at the moment with one of the big four. Mike referenced that earlier. We have manager and senior manager level roles supporting a long-term contract working with one of the big four consulting accountancy firms. So if you're not familiar, the names that you may have heard or the brands that you may have heard are Deloitte, KPMG, EY, PwC. It's one of those. So this role is part of an ongoing fixed term contract to support the US Army on their internal auditing projects. It actually would be working with us at Tenova, so you would be employed by us, but you would be contracted and deployed on site with them in the DC area. They are looking for an interim or secret clearance, and in reality, they need somebody with a degree in finance, accounting, IT, or an MBA would be ideal, as well as experience in financial accounting, financial manager, comptroller, potentially just logistics, but auditing, budgeting within the military. If you have any of the following, they would be ideal certs. So PMP, CISA, CDFM, CGFM, or a CPA. So if you're interested in that at all, so that's senior or manager, auditing, DC Metro, comment below, take a look at our website, or send me a DM. finally, on the direct hire, so on the permanent role side, and just in case people are wondering, these roles are open to anybody in the military population, military spouse, veteran, transitioning service member, or dependents. We want to support you all. We have a phenomenal remote opportunity working for one of the largest US investment companies. And it is a cyber war game exercise developer role. So we are recruiting on behalf of our client, a multinational investment company, HQ out of New York City, but this role is remote, to work independently to design and host engaging information security themed cyber exercises, which are more commonly known as cyber war games. So if you have war game experience, if you have cyber experience, incident response experience, and you also need to have, this is one of those deal breakers, advanced slide deck or PowerPoint creation experience, and you're interested, please connect with me. This is a phenomenal role. It is a 12-month fixed term contract. However, there is the opportunity to become permanent, but the permanent role will be based out of Wilmington, Delaware. Mike, why are you laughing? What's going on?
I'm laughing because you're like advanced slide deck PowerPoint. That's every 04 in the military. Like we literally call them PowerPoint Rangers. So, so you just basically narrowed it down to basically every JMO through 04 across the service would be fantastic for that part. Then you just need the other specialized experience.
Yeah, and there is some very specialized experience. But yes, a PowerPoint Ranger with cyber war game experience would be great, remote, and they are interviewing ASAP. Sorry, sound of freedom ahead. The jets are going over. Right, we are moving on to SkillBridge now. So if you are not familiar with the SkillBridge internship program, it is an opportunity for those transitioning from active duty into civilian life. So those separating or retiring to take part in a internship during the last 6 months of active duty. So basically, it's like a TDY where you are placed into a civilian company to get that life work experience outside of the military. And ideally with the intent to carry on and have a seamless transition post-active duty. You do need approval and authorization from your installation and command, and we are familiar with the fact that each installation and each branch has different parameters. So first and foremost, we have a brand new entrepreneurship opportunity that we wanted to share with you today. These opportunities are nationwide, and when I say nationwide, absolutely think the whole of the US essentially, but specifically there's a concentration in Texas, in California, in the Northeast across Philadelphia, New York City, randomly Tennessee, Kentucky, and Jacksonville, Florida. But if you want to be located anywhere else, let us know. Let's see what we can do. So basically, my first question is to you, are you curious about entrepreneurship? And do you want to be your own boss? Because this internship is really setting you up for success and learning how to run your own business. It is with the food services company that we mentioned earlier. And no matter what your business idea, this will really help you figure out if you are going to be successful, because they are going to give you hands-on apprenticeship experience, expert mentorship. So you're going to get guidance. You'll be able to ask anything, see everything as you are supporting, and really learn best practices. And, for the detail, it is working in one of the major grocery chains and actually running one of the kiosks that you see as soon as you walk into any major grocery store, to include the commissary. So the first thing that you do as you walk in, you see the sushi kiosk, you see the deli counter, and you see the cut produce kiosk where, you can get your grab and go strawberries or watermelon or whatever for lunch. Often in many grocery stores, they are not run by that actual grocery store. They are run by this company, and often they are franchised out. So as a SkillBridge internship, they are looking to host transitioning active duty to run it for them for 3 to 4 months to get an idea of what goes into running your own business. So it's an awesome opportunity. There is the intent, if you are super interested and you're like, wow, this is 100% for me, that you can buy into that franchise or take over. But ultimately, this is an apprenticeship training type of internship that's really going to give you real life experience running your own business. And I feel like, Mike, you might have something to add here.
I got so much to say. I mean, there is no other opportunity like this where you get the chance to try it before you buy it. I mean, you get to go in and run a business for 3 months. You get to see what it takes to run the business, what the hours are like. You get to see the money that comes in, the money goes out. You get to identify how much you would make with the business that's already locked in right there before you decide to take it. Like, there's no other opportunity like this. And we're talking 300 roles across the United States. So, you know, flexible timelines, flexible starts. You get to go in and actually just, like, if you've ever considered wanting to run your own business, like, this is it. This is the chance to go do it. 3 months, no cost. You learn everything you need. You know, you get to do everything. And at the end, they've got some great deals they're working with to figure out how they can get it to you where you just take over that franchise. And you know, with all the support that comes with that. So, and it sounds kind of like when you talk about the kiosks, like kiosk sounds like I'm going and like pushing a button and it's coming out. Like, it's when you go to a supermarket and there's a sushi counter, like that is the kiosk. Like, there is the franchise that runs that sushi counter where I always get my sushi when I'm not going to a nice restaurant. There's the Boar's Head sandwich and sliced lunch meat spots, which is where I always go to get my sandwiches in the supermarkets. And then when you say cut produce, like I go to Wegmans and they have all the pre-sliced fruits and the pre-sliced veggies and everything else like that. Like, those are real business and they're stocked and like used all the time. And when I talked to the president of the company, I said, well, what do they normally make? He said, well, on average, they're making about $2,000 to $5,000 a week. Do the math. And so for me, like, when you get a chance to go in and do something like this, like, you get a 3-month chance to decide whether you want to be a business owner, like, mind blown. So, you know, if you're interested, look into it. If you know someone that might be interested, tell them to connect with Lucy. I mean, this is a life-changing opportunity, to be honest. Those businesses aren't going away, right? They're only continuing to grow. So back over to you, Lucy.
No, that's it. Me done today, Mike. We are a couple of minutes over. We have shared an awful lot of information today. We have multiple new opportunities on our website, both for SkillBridge and for Direct Hire. These are just wave tops today, so definitely take a look at what we have. Read the job description, submit an application, let me know, and let's work together. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Mike, for stepping in for Amber. And we shall see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.